The NBA finals are here. It feels like they took forever to start. But either way, excited for that. Obviously going to be the main talk that we have today on this podcast is going to be breaking down game one, which happened for us the other day. And some other NBA news. There's a coach that has been hired for the Lakers. I want to get into that in a second, but I do have a surprise for Kevin. Did not know I was doing this.
Double O.
Yeah, you inspired me when you mentioned that we have over 800 episodes total now.
We do. We have over 800 episodes now. Yeah, I had a buddy a listener text us and be like, "Hey, how many are you at now, by the way?" And I just didn't really know. I had to go back, but I knew we had tagged episode 500 when we did it. And so I went back and counted from there when I had a little bit of free time the other day. And so this is episode number 818 of the Drive and Dish NBA podcast.
So at 818, I decided, you know what we need? We need a intro theme song.
Okay. Oh no.
And because I live in the world of radio and there's a lot of AI going around, guess what we can do very easily?
Okay. All right.
Is we can make an intro song.
So what AI? I mean, first off, I'm bummed. I guess the budget for John Tesh hasn't come in yet. We can't. NBC's taking up the production money.
But, hold on, because I haven't listened to this. I've listened to one and I didn't like it. There's 4, so we've got options. So the prompt that I did for anybody that's wondering, the first time I didn't put rap or hip hop song. I just said song about a podcast for the Drive and Dish NBA, an NBA podcast talking about games and news. Reference hosts Justin and Kevin and their segment Ballin and Fallin. That is the only thing that I put in. Okay. Let's listen to the hip hop one first because I haven't listened to it. I have no idea what we are in store for right here.
And this is completely AI.
110%. Like I said, I only typed in 193 letters, and this is what it did for us.
Okay.
Here we go.
Welcome to the show, it's the Drive and Dish flow. Justin and Kevin, yeah, y'all already know. Talk about the games, the stories, the fame. Ballin' and Fallin', they down for the same. Grip the mic tight like Curry grip the handle. Hot takes flaming up, ain't no candle. Poetry in motion, slashing up the fences. Justin with the insight, Kevin with the senses. Drive a dish, rolling into the night. Break the news, keep it tight, never slight. Ballin' and Fallin', the segment is the light. For hoop dreams and court schemes, it's a sight. Layups to dunks, from coast to coast. Analyst supreme,
AI is wild, bro. That was way better than it had any business doing. And again, this all goes back to my AI. Like, so many things are going to be different in the next.
This is definitely one of them,
dude. That was so much better than I expected it to be. Like, I can't believe it. I borderline want to steal that first verse. That's crazy.
Should we listen to the next one?
Yeah, we got to run all of them now. Like my face there, I was conveying that was the shock of I can't believe that this is as good as it is.
So we have one more hip hop and then 2 pops. Now the first pop one I know is not good. Like, I listened to it, I didn't like it.
Can we get a K-pop version of this, please?
Dude, let's listen. Watch K-pop. Ready?
No, hang on. We got to finish the other ones first.
Okay.
You know, totally.
Hold on. We'll just tell it to go while we work on this. Look, it's gonna work on it. Ready? All right. Here's the one that I didn't like as much. The pop one. Okay.
On the Drive and Dish, we're rolling. Justin, Kevin, keep it flowing. Talking games and news, we're showing. Basketball is always growing.
Yeah, it sounds very generic. It's very generic.
It sounds too sad. Like,
yeah, it is a little. I mean, I feel like it's going for that summertime sadness type deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I'll try the other pop one. I haven't listened to this one. But again, they keep the lyrics pretty similar because we haven't really changed the description, you know?
I hope it, hang on real quick. I just got to get this out of the way. This is our podcast. It's Safe Space. That Espresso song by Sabrina Carpenter is awesome, dude. Like, that song, Not Like Us is probably Song of the Summer by Kendrick, but like that's like 1 and 1A for me. Hilarious differential, but
I have been getting cooked because I have so much trouble saying espresso. I always say espresso.
Everybody's not saying it like EX anymore. They're putting the S into it finally. We got to get some culture.
I've been getting cooked, dude. All right, here we go. Pop song number 2 for the Drive and Dish NBA anthem intro.
On the driving dish we're rolling. Justin and Kevin keep it flowing. Talking games and news we're showing.
I'll be back in.
Basketball is always growing.
Here we go.
From the court to headlines trending, Ballin and Fallin is never ending.
Ballin is never ending. That is true.
Why does it feel like a 303 song? Like
it's like it's MGK but worse.
Yeah,
kind of like that. Like you know the voice that I'm saying.
So the K-pop one's done. Do we want to try that?
No, we gotta end on the K-pop one. No, the K-pop one has to be last because I'm hoping it's ridiculous.
All right, let's do the second hip hop one. This is the second one. This is not the first one we played.
The first one was hard.
The first one was cooking. That might be the winner.
Yeah,
Here we go.
So.
Here we go.
Welcome to the show. Lift this live and this flow. Justin and Kevin, yeah, y'all already know. Talking about the games, the stories, the fame. Ballin and Fallin, they down for the same. Grip the mic tight like Curry grip the handle. Hot takes flaming up.
This beat is horrible.
Slashing up the fence.
Yeah, we got to throw this out. Take that one's recycled just off the beat.
Go.
The first one again. Like you'll see how much better the first beat is after you play this one compared to the second one.
Welcome to the show. It's the Drive and Dish flow. Justin and Kevin, yeah, y'all already know. Talk about the games.
Like he's building up the tempo. You know what I mean? It sounds like it's about to warm up.
The mic tight like
right.
Grip the handle. Flaming up, ain't no candle. Poetry in motion, slashing up the fences. Justin with the insight, Kevin with the senses. Drive and Dish, rolling into the night. Break the news, keep it tight, never slight. Ballin and Fallin, the segment is the light.
I feel like that beat fits a lot better. I don't know. The second beat is kind of a mess, but
here we go with the
K-pop version that we've all been waiting for.
Here we go.
Kevin on the mic, Justin by his side, talking games and scores on this NBA ride. News from coast to coast, highlights that you need. Tell real clear indeed. Drive and Dish NBA, stories for your day. Ballin and Fallin, always got something to say. Driving news away. Tune in for the thrill. Basketball at its best. With Kevin and Justin.
Podcast fest.
And the podcast fest.
Catch me in Seoul this summer, baby. Inshawn, what up?
Tune in for the thrill. Basketball at its best. With Kevin and Justin.
Okay, that one wasn't bad.
Dude, I freaking love that. I'm not gonna lie. Like that was incredible. Like it was exactly what I hoped it would be.
All right.
I would have filled some time. I should have probably looked at the video and seen you mid sip. I would have kept talking there for a sec.
Should we do the last one?
Oh, we got two. Oh yeah, I guess we got a second.
They give you 2 options each time.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Last one, K-pop electronic vibe, number 2.
Kevin on the mic, Justin by his side. Talking games and scores on this NBA ride.
It's definitely the sadder version of it. Like this is like it sounds like this is like our last podcast. And it's like
in memory of the Drive and Dish NBA.
Right. Like,
they break it down real clear indeed.
Like a
Drive and Dish NBA. Stories for your day.
This is like, you know, at the end of a movie, when they show where they are now, it's like it goes back and it's like, well, Justin got addicted to crack and now
that's how it's ending for you. You got addicted to crack.
He got addicted to crack. He now lives in a penitentiary somewhere. Like,
Oh my goodness. No, you're right though.
Holy
It
moly.
definitely has some definitely some more, right? In memoriam of the Drive and Dish
Yeah.
NBA podcast.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the first hip hop of the first K-pop though. We may need to stash them for something. I'm sure we can that's something we can have off the mic. Let's get into some hoops, warm-up jumpers for the Lakers. That was wonderful, Justin. Thank you, by the way. That was a great surprise. I really enjoyed that.
I'm glad that worked out way better than I thought it would. That
was really enjoyable.
But it definitely puts some confirmation on the like AI is just going to take everybody's jobs.
Yeah. Well, that again, that's a whole other podcast that we could get into for quite a long time. But so the Lakers have themselves a head coach now, and that is Dan Hurley, head coach of UConn previously. So back-to-back national champions. So ton of success at the college level. The bigger story with this is that 2 days ago, everyone thought it was JJ Redick, who was going to obviously be getting his first NBA job post-playing career. He's doing the broadcasting with ESPN right now. A little bit of Shams v. Woj as well. Shams said it was JJ. Woj came in with the bomb and said it was Dan Hurley. But
do you think they like they try to like undermine each other in a way? Like Woj is like talking to people, be like, yeah, leak that it's JJ, even though it's wrong to Shams, so he'll look not smart.
I know somebody put a Shams and Woj diss montage of highlights over the Meet the Grams beat, and I really did get a laugh out of that, and that's what I know about. But there's definitely a little competition there. I mean, they're the two premier, newsbreaker guys. No disrespect to Chris Haynes, who is wonderful as well. But Chris does more like actual journalism, I feel like. With these guys, it's just strictly like, getting the news of it first. And I mean, it's a radical difference in my opinion, based on this hire. Like the JJ Redick hire would have been intriguing, and we would have got all sorts of jokes for LeBron starting the podcast to get JJ hired. And I think JJ's a smart guy who maybe has a chance to have a pretty successful NBA coaching career. Like I am not downplaying that at all.
Doesn't have the experience yet.
Yeah, and then you're going to go coach 39-year-old LeBron James and Anthony Davis as they're trying to go on a title run. Like, that just doesn't seem to make sense to me. Like, I would think, it reminds me of Jason Kidd early in Brooklyn. It even reminds me again with Brooklyn recently with hiring Steve Nash.
By the way, JJ is also 39.
Yeah, which I mean, it's only been a few years ago he's playing. It hasn't even really been that long out of the game. But here with Dan Hurley, again, somebody who, number one, and I hate saying this, but it is just kind of the reality, is it's like, you got to pass the LeBron test. LeBron loves Dan Hurley. Like, he's been on the record multiple times about how innovative his offense is. And I mean, like his last 2 years in college at UConn were pretty bulletproof. Like this year, we talked about it earlier back in March, of course, but like when they won the championship this year, they had the biggest margin of victory, like cumulative margin of victory over their opponents, I think, ever in the NCAA tournament. And that's with a squad that didn't necessarily like have that number one NBA guy, where it's like, oh yeah, he's the, super, like think Kentucky with Anthony Davis, where it's like, oh yeah, no, that really helps a lot too. His offensive schemes have been really innovative. I like, he's just more established to me. Like, I know he hasn't coached at NBA at this point, but when you have that much success in college, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt and hope that it can translate. And I don't downplay the learning curve. It is intriguing in that regard, where it's like, again, that LeBron being 39 years old doesn't change here now, but I lean a little more on that experience with Dan Hurley than I do with JJ.
Well, and you know what's interesting? You obviously talk about passing the LeBron James test and making sure he's happy with it. But I think you also have to make sure Anthony Davis is on board too now, right? Like, he's also a part of this future for the Lakers, maybe even more than LeBron, because we still got to figure out what's going on with him. But you assume with this, maybe even drafting Bronny at 55 or something like that could confirm everything with LeBron, right?
Yeah, and I think they're aware that, or LeBron is a fan of this, as I kind of said a few minutes ago.
Yeah,
like, I don't think he's leaving LA. I think Phoenix maybe was going for it and would try that to pry him, but I still think he was always going to end up coming back to the Lakers, like even with the option to be a free agent this year, unless just something came along. But I don't think they have. Like, maybe if Cleveland was in a position to win an NBA title next year, or there was just some can't miss opportunity, but I do think it's at the point too where he's looking at family, he's looking at long term as well. I mean, I think what happened here too in terms of the Hurley and JJ decision is it's like, look, the Lakers are giving. We don't know the exact figures yet.
It would be dumb money.
But they're giving him a long-term deal with a lot of money. I think they always may have been eyeing in on Dan Hurley. They just didn't really think he was available. Like, at the end of the day, UConn's a pretty sweet gig. Like, you're not going to leave that job unless it's for a lucrative offer. And I just think maybe in the end game, and that's where they started to lean towards JJ. And then in the end game, it's just, all of a sudden the talks kind of heated up when Dan Hurley, gave a little more of an inclination that he's willing to leave the Lakers sweeten the pot a little bit. And I think here we are.
Yeah. You'd almost wonder, like, you wish you could put a cap on the UConn stuff, though, right? Like, I mean, I guess this is the cap leaving, but like, you're going out on a high note. Like, I don't know.
What do you mean? That's the best way to go out. Like, I'm leaving you with back-to-back championships.
But it would be like, well, what if? Could you gone 3?
Sure, but you can say that about anything.
I know, but I'd rather it be like, oh, you did 3, and then things started to slip a little bit, and then you left. Now it feels I get it. You always want to go out on the high note, but it's like, oh man, now it's going to be a what if. What about the Darvin Ham side of this?
What do you mean?
Do you think he gets another coaching gig?
I think, he'll definitely end up on an NBA staff somewhere for sure.
Not like a head coach right off the rip.
I don't think off the rip. I think for better or for worse, the narrative around him isn't too great right now. And he just kind of didn't do a great job with the Lakers, unfortunately. And the problem with coaching a franchise like that is when you just don't have a great season, it gets put right in the spotlight. Like, there's
just so little room for mistakes, Like,
yeah.
Like, and I guess, people will point out, like, well, Dan is going to have his, is coming from college, right? So experience wise, it's going to be a little bit different, but you still have the coaching experience. You still have been a coach before. So in terms of like the JJ arguments, that's where, I think the experience comes into more of a conversation than maybe other places.
It just JJ felt like a boomer bust hire. Like, it could go great, and it could be maybe one of the better decisions in franchise history. But if it goes wrong, I feel like it's one of those that could just be an unmitigated disaster.
Oh, it was interesting.
What you want to look for.
And it was interesting because, like, obviously everyone was drawing the comparisons to the podcast with JJ being like, oh, that's why he's going to do this, and then they'll bring LeBron back. To me, it's like, well, if you're going to go with JJ, to me, that feels more like a reset move. Like, you are moving on from LeBron, and you're going to try to build a new team and learn with a new young head coach who can kind of also learn, like that's where that would have made sense to me. Whereas this move is more of LeBron's coming back. We kind of need to really right the ship immediately.
Well, I think it gets back to something that you alluded to earlier, Justin, where, LeBron's playing career is going to eventually come to an end at some point. I know it certainly doesn't seem like it. But you're right. With the long-term direction of the Lakers, you do have to look at Anthony Davis a little more if he's still the guy that you're planning to build around. And I think that's clearly the case. So, and that lines up a coach with him, assuming this goes as well as you hope it does. Now, if they're putting, again, terms aren't finalized, but if they're putting 8 years, $100 million on the table, like their career should be pretty parallel the rest of the way.
Do you think that means out of Davis and LeBron, everyone else is up for sale pretty much? Like you're willing to move anybody else on the Lakers?
I don't think so. I mean, maybe if they decide to star chase a little bit, but I don't really know who would be available. And I don't really think they have the assets to star chase necessarily, like not without putting more premium guys on the table that I don't think they want to get rid of. Like, I don't think they're looking to move like an Austin Reeves, for example. I think if they're going to contend and compete, they need role guys like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so, it's a balance. It's always tough, but I've always, and look at the finals this year. I'm always a believer in 2 in depth. Like, if you're going to do 3, you better get it right. And it better be, that Dwayne Wade, LeBron, Chris Bosh type, where it is just truly better. Because it when you give up all your assets to get a 3rd star, it makes it tougher. And I think a lot of these teams recently that have won and been successful have kind of showed the way. It's like, once you have the 2 stars, it's about building out the rest of the roster as much. You give yourself, kind of that margin for error, which we'll get into here with with finals talk in a second. Welcome everybody to the Drive and Dish NBA podcast. My name is Kevin Rafuse, episode 818. As always, joining me, my co-host Justin Cousart.
Will the script allow Kyrie to win?
I would certainly hope so if I'm putting my homer hat on, but I don't know so after game one.
Doesn't look like it, but we will. It's interesting because I'm going to have a lot of I feel like a lot of I told you so moments where the Celtics literally looked at the Mavericks offense and went, oh, they just do ISO. Let's just shut down Luka until everybody else is scoring. Guess what? They didn't. So yeah, we'll talk about that later. That was Dwight Howard, by the way.
Dwight Howard checking in from Taiwan again. Always got to get a check-in from Dwight over there. Now part owner of the team that he's playing for. So we talked a little bit last week.
It's got to be a weird situation to be playing on a team that you own.
Yeah, but I mean,
how do you as a coach tell him to sit or what? You know what I mean?
I don't know, but let's be honest. Are you benching Dwight Howard over in Taiwan right now?
No,
you think they got a better option?
If it's more of a, I don't know, what if it's he wants a player on the team and it doesn't fit, but it's more of a coach thing situation than LeBron is with the Lakers half the time. That might be.
No, listen, you're not entirely wrong, Trust. Leave us a review on iTunes, or if you want to hear about Dwight Howard buying the team, you can go back and check out our old episodes. But if you leave us a review on iTunes, good or bad, we'll read them on the podcast. If you're not an Apple user, Google Play Store, Spreaker, Spotify, TuneIn, Amazon Music, Player FM, anywhere you can find your podcast, you can find us.
And we did grab another subscriber on YouTube. So if you are interested in joining that crew, we are looking for subscriber number 70. You can join us. Just search Drive and Dish NBA podcast on YouTube. You can subscribe there. Obviously, you'll get notifications when new episodes are out or coming out. And you can watch the video version of Immaculate Grid, which we usually do, at least recently, at the end of episodes.
Yeah, that might change come summertime, but there's a lot of actual basketball, so we try to put that up front. And now a word from our sponsors.
So the NBA Finals are off and running. We will have a game, at least for continuity stakes. Another one happens on tomorrow for us, Sunday. So depending on when you're listening to this, that game may also have happened. But at least from game one, it looks very convincing on the Boston side of things. They won 107-89. Pretty commanding win. A lot more assists on the Celtics side, which is the first stat that really sticks out to me. You look at it, they had 20. The Celtics had 23. The Mavericks had 9, which again leads back to the ISO ball conversation, which is what we said was going to happen. I said ISO ball and threes, and guess what happened? ISO ball and threes, and the Celtics made a lot of threes. They were that was a part of it, and the Celtics said, oh, if the Mavericks, are going to go ISO ball on us, we're going to say everyone else has to beat us. Luka's not going to do it.
Yeah, and it worked. I mean, but a few takeaways, though, from the first game, because I think you're right about the strategy. And number one, obviously, you can't just downplay Porzingis' return. I think that was the key to the Celtics, and I think that is the key where they've looked more vulnerable in these other rounds. I mean, if KP is healthy, it defensively, more importantly, is what adds that different dimension to me. And I know, the big story is about his first quarter coming out hot, finished the game with 20 and 6. But, Dallas, besides the ISO and the 3, Dallas loves just lobs and alley-oops.
Yep.
And
KP is big for that.
Yeah, he does such a good job at neutralizing that. And I think that was one of the big stories in game one, is that they just locked in defensively. Al Horford started the game, but KP came off the bench and just gave them a lot of good minutes. And I think they were able to control the paint. And I think so in that sense, that limited some of the guys that, we talk about that need to step up. Gafford only had 8 points. Max Kleba had 2. They just did a good job on that end. The other thing was that, besides the lack of ball movement, because you're right, 9 assists is horrendous. There's no other way around it. Dallas has to move the ball more than that.
No one on Dallas had more than 2 assists, and it was Kyrie that had 2. Everyone else had one.
And you mentioned the 3-point shooting as well, and that's something that when Boston has got going, they made 16 in the last game. Tatum had 3, Horford had 2. Holiday had 2. Jaylen Brown had 2. Hauser had 2 off the bench. KP had 2. Like, they just have so many different, like, that's such a big part of their game. Dallas, too, I think can have that as well. And they need those role guys who have been so good for them in these playoffs to just hit their shots. And they just didn't. Like, PJ Washington was 0 of 3 behind the arc. He only had 14. And obviously Kyrie too. Kyrie
0 for 5. Yeah.
Kyrie had a disaster class in game 1. Like, he only had 12 points. And I think that, on the other hand, is where you kind of take a little solace if you're Dallas and you go, hey, Kyrie was pretty horrendous in game 1. I mean, really inefficient, 6 of 19 from the field. None of our role players got anything going on the road. And we just, like, we shot horrendously. And when even if we just get a little bit back to average, we'll be much more competitive. Now, the counterpoint to that, if you're Boston, and what I think is one of the big stories for Boston in these playoffs, because this is just a remarkable stat, Boston is 5-0 now in games where Jason Tatum shoots under 40%. And that's kind of what I talked about last week, is where, when one of their stars are down, they did such a good job at building this roster, especially now with Porzingis back, that it can get picked up and carried by somebody else. Like, Jason Tatum had 16 points in game 1. Like, he was pretty horrible for the most part, but it just didn't matter because there's, you talk about KP being big. Jalen chips in with 22 points. Derek White gives you 15. Like, Holiday gives you 12. There's such a margin for error to make up for that, where I feel like Dallas, when Kyrie is off, didn't have that. Like, I thought Luka played well enough in game 1. Like, there's not really an issue we had there.
I mean, but Luka is still, too, from 3-point. He was 4 for 12. Like, that's still not a great stat. Now, the thing that is sticking out to me is PJ Washington had 14 points after Luka, which is like the next highest on Dallas.
Right.
But Kyrie with 12. What I'm trying to get at is, for the Celtics, you had KP. You had Drew Holiday. You had Derek White. I'll throw Al Horford in there. He only had 10 points, but I'll put him in this list.
He's great defensively, though, especially on Luka.
Then you got Jaylen Brown. Like, everybody is contributing, like you were saying. Like, the depth is there, where once Luka it was Luka, and even he wasn't, like, hot. It was nobody else.
Yeah.
And that's right. Like, that's what it comes down to. There was just nobody else after that. And that makes me nervous going forward.
Yeah, I mean,
because again, you talk about the Kyrie part, right? He wasn't great. Cool. Jason Tatum wasn't great. And so, like, if you just have both of them back, and we're still at a wash here,
Yeah, and I mean, you'll need more out of Derek Lively. That's another guy you hope you get more out of your Dallas. I mean, I don't know. If Dallas can't move the ball and hit shots, and it goes like this, I mean, this could be like a 5-game series potentially.
But to be honest, they don't move the ball much to begin with. Like, again, with the ISO stuff, I get it. They're going to move it more than like it was. I think the Celtics were very honed in on making it even more than it normally is, but they don't do it much more anyway. So I'm not convinced, like, unless you readdress the whole offense, but that's what got you here to this point.
And you're not going to do that at this point. Like, you just got to hope you hit your shots. And I think that's where you can feel a little better if you're Dallas, as we say, hey, we got our looks necessarily. We didn't knock them down. Like, they got to figure out what they're going to do in the paint. And maybe you make some adjustments going into game 2. I will say, and I know teams, we've covered the finals recently where Phoenix was up 2-0 on Milwaukee, and Milwaukee ended up coming back and winning that series. But, I don't want to get too explosive early. Dallas has to win this game too, or I think this series is over. Like, I'm pretty confident already saying that Boston is going to be winning. If they don't, Dallas can split. You go back home. And I mean, that's what, for what it's worth, the last time Dallas was won the finals was in 2011. They lost that first game to the Heat. And that was a series where I think everyone after game 1 was like, man, this Heat team, they're just more talented. Like, what are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
You got to hope Kyrie steps up. I can't imagine he has 12 points again in game 2. There were a lot of bad signs for Dallas, and like, that was a rout. It was never close, really. That game from start to finish wasn't a contest.
From the betting side of things, Dallas obviously favorite, but like favorite by a good bit right now, and the spread is +7, which is not great.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I picked Boston to win this series. Like, I still feel good about Boston overall, but yeah, a lot of warning signs if you're Dallas. But again, if I even get back to average, then I think maybe it's a lot more competitive. And we're talking, and I'll give Luka and Kyrie still enough credit to just potentially take over a game.
I mean, yes, I hope you're right, but I'm pretty off the train already.
Yeah, it was concerning for sure. That was not a 5 alarm loss, but it was definitely like a 3.5 alarm loss where it was like, and Boston for what it's worth, hit all their shots. Like, I do think maybe you get a little variance there. Boston's at home, so you kind of get that home boost a little bit, but Boston's also been the best team on the road all year. So you can't really feel good about, that's a tough also potentially hat to hang your hat on if you're Dallas. What are you going to do there?
Yeah.
It definitely tough scenes for the Mavs in game one. We'll see. I'm rooting for a competitive series. So I hope it's not a series full of game ones. You're right, though. And I mean, honestly, with the layoff, you mentioned it in the intro. It was, I mean, we recorded that finals preview and that was, it was almost a full week ago at this point. And it was crazy because if Dallas had swept Minnesota, it would have been 2 days longer. Like, we got lucky that Minnesota was able to extend and get the gentleman's sweep there. Or it would have been like May 28th to June 6th with no basketball, just the way the schedule had broke out. And even
that would have been even crazier, like
it's brutal. And I mean, even now, and I think that's the one thing that's disappointing when the finals stink, because the schedule now too is so far apart. Like, this past game one was on Thursday. You mentioned we're recording this on a Saturday morning. Game 2 will be Sunday, and then it's a travel day. So you got to wait basically half the week again. Like, so when the games are disappointing, when you're waiting so long, that's just, and that's more for the casuals than anybody. But, for those rooting for a competitive series, it is kind of lame when it gets out of hand early and you have such a long break in between. But
yeah.
All right, who's balling, who's fallen? Our NBA version of the stock market. We always like start with good before the bad. And so balling for me this week is Cade Cunningham, who reportedly is going to get the max from the Pistons this off season. $226 million, 5 years is what that contract would be worth. I mean, he's been the only core guy, I think, for this Pistons team. They have other young guys potentially too, with Thompson, with Duren, who could be a piece of this going forward. But Cade's the guy who's shown flashes. Obviously a extremely brutal start to the season, dealt with a ton of injuries as well. But that losing streak, even there were moments where I think Cade looked kind of bad. The second half of the season was a turnaround, and I think kind of made you feel like, hey, all right, this is our number 1 overall pick. Like, this was the superstar that we build around what we drafted. I also don't think he was done any favors coaching wise this year with Monty Williams. Like, it was just constantly a disaster. I don't know. It's tough because whenever you see that max money, I think they better be a franchise superstar. And I think Cade, when you look at some of the number 1 picks, maybe hasn't risen to that level yet. But I also think he's dealt with a lot of like organizational dysfunction. And so you're hoping, they got the new president of basketball operations in there. You're kind of hoping you can add some stability. And I think if you're Detroit, you just kind of have to do it anyway. Like, he's the one guy you're building around. Like, you don't want to play around with this at this point.
No, I think you mentioned it. I think what was it? The max extension could be worth
226.
226. There it is. Yep. Cade Cunningham with 22 points. I guess the big thing that people are alluding to, right, is the efficiency improved a little bit, even though there were struggles, which I guess gives you some hope there. But yeah, you got to invest in your guys. And I think that's what it boils down to.
Well, right. And, you're still in the process of figuring out who you want to build around Cade Cunningham. Unfortunately, they've had no luck in terms of draft lottery either. So they haven't been able to get a high pick in there.
But that's my point is, you want to build around him. So lock him up so that you know what money you have to work with going forward.
Yeah, the next few seasons, I think and in terms of just individual development, like, I think they're going to be key to just see how good Cade Cunningham is. Like, I'm still a believer in Cade. I feel like I've sounded kind of negative during this segment, but I think they need to having some organizational stability around him will help. Like, Detroit has unfortunately just, again, had some bad luck in the lottery. So they haven't been able to get another like number 1 pick there, despite being horrendous the last 2 seasons. So yeah, you hope they can just kind of get some stability there for his sake. I think that will allow him to develop.
So I have two Ballins. Obviously, I want to talk about Caitlin Clark, who just tied the WNBA rookie record for three-pointers in a game on Friday. Also had a game-high 30 points in a win over the Mystics. Shot 7 of 13 from three-point range and was 8 of 15 overall, which is also her season high. Caitlin Clark is obviously very polarizing right now and and has been for a little bit, but a huge topic of conversation that everybody's been bringing up with positive and negative around her. But, absolutely cooking in that game specifically to point out the tying the record for her.
Yeah, and I mean, her again, there's been some struggles with it, as I think realistic people should have expected, like adjusting to WNBA. Like, she's going to come in and make an impact right away. She was always that caliber of player, but it's not necessarily we're going to, reinvent the entire script of the league because she's that talented and it's like everybody else is playing a different sport.
Right.
I mean, it's such a nuanced conversation around Caitlin Clark at this point, and a lot of people have had so many opinions on it that I don't want to do it a disservice at this point and almost just like add to the mix. But I don't know. I'm back and forth on it because, like, on one hand, I mean, look, no one is supposed to just be like, we know what Caitlin Clark is doing for the star power of the league. And I do think that more eyes are on the WNBA than have ever been before. And I think a large part of it is due to Caitlin Clark. And I think a large part of it is due to the fact that, yeah, the WNBA has more talent and star power in it right now than it's ever had before. It has multiple superstars and people who are becoming household names in that league. I also don't think these women should be bowing at Caitlin Clark's feet. Like,
part of me kind of likes the clash, if that makes sense. Like the heat a little bit, get mad at each other, fight each other, well, don't actually fight each other, but like have that rivalry a little bit.
It can't be personal. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't like that Carter foul. That was real dirty. It was like the just blatant check from behind. Like, you can try to lock her up and be motivated to play her and want to beat her and all these other things and feel that way. Like, hey, maybe the W should have been getting recognized for a longer period of time.
Sure,
like, yeah. But I'm also just, it's one of those things where it's like, I can't really, like, don't be mad at Caitlin Clark because she just ended up being a major draw for everybody. Like, I think there are a lot of reasons why. And, I think, to put it bluntly, her being white probably helps. But it's just like the eyes now are there. Like, they may not be there for the reasons that you want them to be,
but they're there.
And it does create a greater appreciation for these other women who deserve it. Because I'm with you. Like, Aja Wilson should be getting mentioned, and the other rookies who have been lighting it on fire, Angel Reese and Cam Brink, and all these ladies, like, they deserve that credit. But I think they're starting to get it now. And so I'm also kind of like, look, I understand that you're frustrated that it shouldn't have taken Caitlin Clark to get the attention on the league, and that it shouldn't have taken Caitlin Clark to get charter jets for these women. They should have been traveling like NBA players, and like, all that is valid. But also, like, I'm not really mad at her that it's there now. Like, what are you going to, like, I don't know. It does feel petty. It's like, you can't be mad at her for just
it almost feels like
and coming into the league. And like, I don't know. That's my thing, is don't make it extra.
It feels like a misdirected anger. Like, it shouldn't be at her. It should be at someone else if there is anger. But also, like, my problem was more, and we kind of talked about this off mic, my problem was more the teammates not coming to her defense. But because that feels...
Well, yeah, when she's getting... Oh, and you hope that with any team. It's like, look, if she's getting beat up physically, and it's clear that she's taken a pretty fair amount of contact in these games, like, hey, yeah, you need to just be like, back your teammate up. And you would hope that the other members of the Fever will. I'm not necessarily like putting that as an indictment on the Fever as well. It's just like, look, she's going to get that extra attention. And I mean, that's happened with other stars in the past as well. Like, you talk about the Michael Jordan legacy. Michael Jordan was getting beat up by the Pistons for years. Like, they were going after him left and right at the beginning of his career.
And I'm cool with that. Like, I'm cool. Get physical.
Stay within the lines. That's my thing.
Yeah,
stay within the lines. I think for the most part, a lot of these women do. I'm not implying that they don't. It's just, it's a very nuanced situation. There's a lot of different, probably correct takes to it, but I'm also just like, it does feel kind of personal at times, and I'm just like,
that's tough.
Like, like we're all kind of mad at the structure, but it's not like she like came in and like asked for this either. You know what I mean? Like, she's just hooping.
Well, to put a cap on Ballin, I did also want to reference LaMelo's go-kart track on the roof of his 2.4.
What's up with LaMelo Ball and driving, man? What's up with this guy? Like, LaMelo Ball is doing donuts in a go-kart on the roof.
What a move. That's cool.
Somebody said like LaMelo Ball is just like he is the ultimate like 16-year-old with money, just doing like all the things we wished we could do when we were 16 years old.
Side quests. I'm about it.
Again, I just also go back to that TikTok montage of him peeling out of the arena after games in Charlotte, blatantly like running red lights, just blatantly disregarding traffic. And I'm kind of like, maybe LaMelo needs a driver.
maybe someone needs to check him.
Like, I don't know. He's got a lot to be playing for, and there's a lot of money still on the table if you're LaMelo Ball. So, but I did laugh at him doing donuts in a go-kart on a rooftop in Charlotte. Yes, I did laugh at that.
My Fallin, by the way, as we make the transition, is to Bradley Beal. More just so from the fact that he's going to be recovering. He had to get nose surgery. I guess he had a misaligned septum in his nose, and had been complaining about having breathing problems. So maybe that helps him down the line. But just had the surgery, and recovering probably won't impact anything. But had it happen.
We wish a smooth recovery for Bradley Beal.
Because he's going to get those things. You know what I mean? Like, those things have to come out, and I imagine that is not comfortable to have happen.
Yeah, it's definitely not. Fallin for me is that two more people have been charged in connection with the Jontay Porter betting scandal. Timothy McCormick and Mahmoud Molla are their names. The fourth guy has been redacted. There's another one who's already been charged as well. Obviously, this is all related to Jontay Porter's suspension from the NBA, is now lifetime suspension, betting on games, betting on unders. My favorite part of this, though, and I shouldn't be laughing at this, but I'm fully laughing at this, is that Jontay Porter, when it's like the news started to come down, texted their group chat with the people he was in this with, his co-conspirators, and said, hey, y'all might want to watch out. I think we might get hit with the RICO. And I'm like, bro, you texted that you were about to get hit with the RICO? Like, what are you doing? I think of that quote from, did you ever watch Wire, or did you ever get around to watching Wire?
No.
There's that quote, and I'm not going to say that because the full quote is not PG friendly, or it's not podcast family friendly, but it was just like, I just think of Stringer Bell going, are you taking notes on a criminal conspiracy right now? Like, oh my God. But yeah, it's so silly, so ridiculous. But all right, shall we switch gears here a little bit? Jump into some NBA Immaculate Grid. Full disclosure, I'm really glad that we didn't get yesterday's today, because it was very it was all statistical based, and then because it was based around the finals, right? So it was like Mavericks and Celtics, but then it was like rebounds and assists and just all stuff that we knew. And then the one row was Duke, but for Duke, it's really easy for Celtics and Mavericks. Like, they have multiple. Assuming you haven't used Kyrie, Dallas had Seth Curry. Boston's had a few Duke players over the year as well. But all right. So for the podcast listeners, and again, you can always watch the YouTube version of the Immaculate Grid. Just search Driving Dish NBA podcast. For the podcast listeners, though, our columns this week, from left to right, the Brooklyn Nets, the Lakers, and Hall of Fame. Rows from top to bottom, the Wizards, the Bulls, and 10 rebounds a game per season. So yeah, I mean, some of these are pretty easy. I mean, obviously the Hall of Fame and the 10 rebounds a game per season, I think we can get without too much difficulty.
I feel like Spencer Dinwiddie works in like two different places at least.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think 3, but he works for the 2
Nets
at
and
the top.
Lakers. Yeah.
Nets, Lakers, and then the Wizards.
He never played for the Bulls. Yeah. So I mean, we have him in the back pocket. I bet he'd probably be a higher usage for Nets Wizards, maybe.
So it's tough because he was just on the Lakers this past season, but he didn't really play a big role for them. So part of me thinks it's higher there, but he also was better. He's better in Brooklyn though. Like you're right. Like I associate Dinwiddie with Brooklyn the most probably.
I associate Dinwiddie with getting his pay in crypto.
Oh no, well, yeah, I mean that is fair. He was super big on that.
Yeah.
That was great recently. It's definitely taking some rough spots there, but it was pretty high at one point.
Does Chris Humphrey works?
Chris Humphreys does work for Brooklyn, Washington. Yeah, definitely, 100%.
He's like my go-to for Washington. Him, John Wall. I guess Bradley Beal now, just because he's moved around.
That's so disrespectful to Washington. I love it. Like that is unbelievable.
Gortat, I think of Gortat too. He never played for the Lakers, right?
No, Gortat didn't play for the Lakers. I always think of, I guess with the Wizards, I always will go to that starting 5. So it was like John Wall, Bradley Beal,
Otto Porter, yeah, Otto Porter,
and Gortat.
And Gortat, yeah. Okay. Well, Chris Humphreys works if you think that's going to be
Chris Humphreys will be low. Let's do Chris Humphreys in the corner.
Watch it be high because of the Kardashians.
I mean, there might be like it could be a boost, but I mean, still,
3%, we're good.
that 3% is strictly off the Kardashians. Also, I love that his picture is with the Sixers jersey on. Like, really, that's the one. I know he's there for a little bit, but
I literally forgot he was on the Sixers. So,
he was indeed on the Sixers. All right. Lakers and Bulls. I mean, the obvious ones are Pau Gasol works, Dennis Rodman works. Shoot, who's the other? There's another. Oh, Rondo. Rondo works there.
Rondo works. Andre Drummond works.
Did Drummond? Yeah, Drummond did play for the Lakers. Just kidding. You're right.
I think so. Right?
No, he did. You're 100% right.
Carlos Boozer, did he ever end up on the Lakers?
He did end up on the Lakers. That's a good one. Okay, wow, we haven't used Boozer in a while. That might have to be the move. I like that, Justin.
I also think didn't Paul Gasol end up like at the end with the Bulls?
No, yeah, but no, Pau works. That's what I mentioned first.
Oh, you did? Okay, I did.
Pau definitely works. Yeah.
What do we want to do there then?
Who did Boozer? Oh, we gotta do Boozer.
Boozer?
Yeah, because he was kind of bad on the Lakers. Like he was on a Lakers team that they like to forget about. And he was definitely on the Bulls for a while. 1%. That's what I'm talking about. Nice.
Let's go.
All right. Yeah.
So
I mean,
I want to say, do we think he did it on the Lakers though?
What, 10 a game?
Andre Drummond 10 a game.
Oh man, I don't. He played with the Lakers for so little. Is my problem.
I know.
But he's coming off the bench too, man.
I wanna go for it.
Okay.
You want to go for it?
I don't, but I will because you're really confident in it, and I feel like I owe you that.
It's Drummond, man. He
does. He's a rebounding machine. It's just more. It's the minutes for me. But if
okay.
Oh
yeah.
Wow. Damn, dude. I gotta look this up. And Andre Drummond is one of the best rebounders of all time.
Holy moly.
Man, I think he played a minute. Let me look this up real quick. All right, hang on. Andre Drummond.
That's wild. Okay. Let's
go. Wow. 10.2. Wow. 10.2 per game. When he played with the Lakers. He only played with the Lakers for 21 games.
Okay. But that's fair. Like even if he plays like 3 games, he's probably getting triple-digit rebounds, you know?
He was grabbing 10 boards a game in 24 minutes a game. Like, my man is just a rebounding machine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Dude, wow, that was close. That was crazy.
Nets, Bulls, and Lakers, Wizards are our last 2 team connections that we got to worry about.
So the one that works with the Nets is DeAndre Jordan, who I think people associate as a great rebounder. But
down here. Okay.
Yeah, just because he was more towards the end of his career with him there, but he was there kind of recently.
Okay.
I don't. Oh no, never mind. Just kidding. I'm thinking Aldridge was Aldridge's. I'm thinking the Spurs, not with the Nets. He definitely didn't with the Nets.
No, the center, their center that ended up going to Cavs, Allen.
Oh, Jared Allen.
Did he have anything?
He might have. Yeah, I mean, he was was he an All-Star in Brooklyn or no?
I don't think he was. Unless Bridges has been pulling in 10 this year.
No, I don't think Bridges has been pulling 10. I'd rather do Allen than Bridges. I mean, Allen and DeAndre Jordan, I think, and we can come back to this, but like both of those I think would work there and be fine. I got to think a little bit about Chicago and Brooklyn. I feel like there's a really obvious one there that
Chicago and Brooklyn?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, Thad Young. Right?
Yeah, no, you're definitely, you're 100% right.
Only because he's a former Sixer. That's why.
I mean, dude, it works. If you want to pull it there, go for it. I don't think he's really highly associated with either of those teams. I know Thad's bounced around, but like, yeah, he was. I mean,
Thad Young, baby. Let's go. 6% is kind of higher.
More than I expected, honestly. And just because, like, I didn't think we'd get the recency bias with him being, on Toronto too. I think it would, you never quite know. And because he ended with Phoenix too. He was on Phoenix at the end of the year this year. All right. So we got Dinwiddie as well in the back pocket for up top for Wizards and Lakers still that we can do that work. I'm really trying to like think of other ones that went there.
For Lakers.
Oh, dude. Another obvious one is Russell Westbrook. I don't know why we've been thinking that. Russ will probably be high there.
Russ will be high. Do you think Oh, no. Russ was never on the Nets. No. Sorry.
No, Russ was never on the Nets.
But do we think Harden was grabbing 10 a game?
No. There's no planet where I think James Harden was getting 10 rebounds a game.
That would be wild.
It would be.
We don't have that. I do want to look up what he was doing that time. I'll look that up. I'll say we can't use him.
Wizards Hall of Fame, the number one obvious one, as crazy as it sounds, because it's not his main team, is Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan works for Wizards and Bulls Hall of Fame.
Wow.
The other one, the main ones for Wizards that I associate Hall of Fame. Well, actually, Chris Webber works now. Chris Webber just got in. The other one,
we were 8.5 rebounds for Harden.
That was
the Nets. We were close.
Wow, Harden, I apologize. I'm not gonna lie. I thought that would be way further off.
No, because remember, he was like the triple double guy. Him and Westbrook were like,
Yeah. The Wizards Hall of Famer number one that I'll always go to is Wes Unseld. Wes Unseld is definitely a Hall of Famer.
Okay.
Back from the 70s and 80s. Yeah, like I said, Weber just got in. He's definitely there. MJ is there.
Yeah. Well, I bet if we went MJ for Wizards, like you were talking about, because he'll most likely get used for the Bulls.
Yeah, it'll be significantly lower for the
I think it's going to be way lower, like because everyone's going to use it for the Bulls.
Yeah, I know. I
think Wes is going to be like just people. I think the problem is everyone's going to use MJ for the Bulls, so they're going to be forced to find someone for the Wizards. And
I think Wes is the most there. I don't remember if Moses Malone played for the Wizards / Bullets or not. I'm not nearly confident. If you want to put Michael Jordan there, that's fine.
Let's do Jordan at Hall of Fame for Wizards. 28%.
I'm not surprised. Like there aren't many Wizards. Like I said, Wizards for Hall of Famer. It's a harder category than it probably should be.
So, I mean, Pippen obviously works.
Pippen works. Rodman works. Dude, the sleeper that works. Tony Kukoc, because of the international stuff.
Oh,
Tony Kukoc is in the NBA strictly off that, or in the Hall of Fame, I should say, strictly off that. Yeah, I'm trying to like go back, but they don't really have a ton. I mean, and all their like Derrick Rose obviously was on the path to be, but he got hurt.
Yeah.
Nobody really in those mid 2000s.
Joakim Noah's not in it, right?
No, Noah's not in Hall of Fame.
Boozer's
mid-2000 teams had good players, but nobody that was really Hall of Fame worthy. So, no, I mean, literally, I think the only two I can think of, well, three. The only three I can think of are Pippen, Rodman, and
So who do you think's the least out of Rodman and Pippen?
Rodman. I mean, Pippen is always Pippen is the number two. I feel like he's always the we could go Kukoc though if you want to go rarity.
Oh yeah, let's do Kukoc. You want to do that?
Yeah, only because I suddenly got wary on it, but I feel pretty good about it.
How does he spell it?
Kukoc.
Kukoc. Okay. Kukoc. Tony, 3%.
Okay,
there you
thank
go.
God. It's strictly it's big time off the international contributions he got in.
Yeah. Okay. Do we know if Zach Randolph is a Hall of Famer?
I don't know. He's not a Hall of Famer yet. Just to recap where we're at right now, real quick for the podcast listeners. We got Chris Humphries for Wizards and Nets, Thad Young for Bulls and Nets, Carlos Boozer for Bulls and Lakers, Andre Drummond for Lakers, 10 rebounds a game, Tony Kukoc for Bulls Hall of Fame, Michael Jordan for Wizards Hall of Fame. I mean, Hall of Fame for 10 rebounds a game per season, it's like shooting fish in a barrel at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, Shaq, Wilt, Bill Russell.
Yeah, but we got to think of the guys have like very close to 10 a game for a season.
No, I know. You got to think of it's like you try to think of the guards. Like there's the obvious ones too. Barkley, David Robinson, Tim Duncan, Olajuwon, Patrick Ewing. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like other dominant big men. I mean, Kareem. What about like David Thompson, the Skywalker?
I mean, I'm down because he didn't come to my mind.
I don't know. Did he have how many rebounds a game? Is it
10?
Oh, I don't know. No, never mind. I don't feel confident now enough that he had 10 a game.
Should we do Lakers Wizards just to round it out? Like we'll come back to that one and kind of.
Yeah, I'd rather do Dinwiddie than Russ. I think Dinwiddie will be lower.
Dinwiddie, okay.
Yeah, and I can't think of any. I don't remember if Robin Lopez played for the Lakers or not, but I'd rather just go with Dinwiddie at this point.
All right, Dinwiddie it is. 1%. That's actually.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't have a memorable tenure in Washington. Like he was pretty disappointing there, and he just got to the Lakers for a little bit. I thought maybe with the Lakers recency there'd be a tiny bit more there. All right, Nets. Nets 10 rebounds a game. Who was the other one you mentioned? We low-key maybe could have used Drummond there too, I think. But we mentioned DeAndre Jordan. We mentioned Jared Allen. I think both of them work.
Yeah. Well, do you think Allen works? Allen was the one I wasn't the most confident on.
I do. He was starting. Like that's just my biggest thing is I feel like with him starting.
Are you Oh yeah. Okay.
10 rebounds a game for I'm just trying to I'm still kind of stuck on there too.
Yeah.
But like rare people. Like George Mikan, I feel like works. He's like the ultimate boomer who dominated the 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
Won a bunch of the Lakers early. Like when they were in Minneapolis and stuff, while I'm talking.
Yeah, I say we just keep it chalky. Because I don't.
Oh, I'm talking about for the Hall of Fame 10 rebounds.
Oh, you're talking about for Hall of Fame. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, George Mikan 100% works there. Like that. I'm trying to think of the most like boomer great that I can think of.
Where for 10 and Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that. I'm trying to get creative on Nets, but I just don't think.
I want to get more creative on 10 and Hall of Fame too, but I'm like running into like, oh man, God, Oscar Robertson was a guard. He did it. He'd have 10 a game and is in the Hall of Fame. I'm like trying to think of guards that did it because like Oscar averaged a triple-double this season, so he definitely had it. Russ will obviously fit there one day when he makes the Hall of Fame, but that's just hasn't happened yet. There's so many like, oh man, what dude? Oh, I'm trying to think of what's his name. He played for the Warriors. I got to think about it back in the day.
Luis Scola.
In the Hall of Fame?
No. You just said Warriors. Or David West. Was David West? He's not Hall of Fame.
No. David West definitely not Hall of Fame. Oh my God, what is his name? He played for the Warriors back in the day. Hang on, give me a sec. I'm gonna get this, but when I get it, it's gonna be the guess because I it's rarer than Mike and I think.
Did Iggy ever do 10 plus? And is Iggy Hall of Fame yet?
No, and maybe he's not. He's definitely not Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Oh wait, would from Heat Big Three? Oh my God. Wait,
Chris Bosh.
On Bosh. Did he have 10?
Bosh definitely had 10. Is Bosh Hall of Fame, right?
That I don't know, but he's so much younger. Like if he is in it, I don't think people are going to think of him.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's Hall of Fame though. Yet. Yes.
No. I don't. I got to double check. Know who? No, Bosh. He just got inducted a few years ago. He's definitely in it. Yeah, he's definitely in it.
Did he have 10 though?
He definitely had 10. He had at least one of the seasons in Toronto. He had 10.
I bet he is not
so
high on people's list.
I don't think he's high on people's list. I think there's two that I just thought of. One of them is Wes Unseld because I just definitely realized he had 10 a game of season, and he probably got used a ton in the Wizards Hall of Famer. So I'm kind of like, but I think you'd be low there in that context.
Okay.
It dawned on me. The 10 rebounds a game in the San Francisco guy is Nate Thurmond. Nate Thurmond definitely played in the 70s. He for sure had 10 a game. And by your reaction, I feel like I'm going like real low here. So I'm Nate Thurmond, dude. I'm telling you, that's got to be like 0.1%.
0.6.
Okay.
There you go. You know they're old when it's a black and white photo.
I know. Well, that's what Mikan would have been like that too. I mean, like I said, he's playing back for the Minneapolis Lakers before the shot clock exists. Like we're really digging into the crates for that one. Oscar Robertson would have worked for sure. Chris Bosh, Devin. I mean, I'm gonna look it up now, just because I know he wasn't on the Nets at all. Yeah, Chris Bosh had 10 a game in 2006, 2007, in 08, 09, and in 2009, 2010. He actually never did with Miami. They were all with Toronto. He's real close a few times, but I mean, Miami also had more of a traditional big man, and they were spreading him out too at that point. So
okay.
All right, Nets 10 rebounds a game. I mean, DeAndre Jordan is a more prolific rebounder overall. Yep. So in that sense, now I know he was more at the end of his career there, but
you know what?
I'm fine with either of these guys.
You know what I'm thinking is I bet Chris Humphries would have worked here.
Oh my God! Wait a minute, Justin. You know who I think works? Hang on. Oh my goodness, dude. Remember? I don't know. Oh man, I'm putting it on the line here, but I think we do it because this will be a home run if it works. I think Reggie Evans works there. You know what I'm talking about? Dude, long beard. He was on the Sixers for a little bit. He was really good at rebounding and kind of nothing else. But I remember him just dominating a season with Brooklyn on the boards. And I don't know if it was 10, and I'm going to feel real bad if I blow our streak, but it's kind of like in the Andre Drummond category with you. I think we got to risk it sometimes.
Okay.
Our rarity score is going to be top tier if we pull this off.
Ooh, okay. Rarity score. What was it? It was 2% actually higher than I thought it would be.
Actually higher than I expected too. Wow. Yeah, Reggie Evans had 11.1 rebounds a game for Brooklyn.
There are 21 Hall of Famers for the Wizards.
Wow, we stink.
Oh no, let me see what it says.
I'm sitting here, I'm like, I got 3.
Okay. Is this right? Is this showing me the right thing? Okay, yeah. Paul Pierce, Michael Jordan.
Oh, Paul Pierce, dude. Yeah, Paul Pierce. He did. He had a game winner for them.
Spencer Haywood, Gus Johnson, Earl Monroe.
Haywood would have been against 70.
Jerry Sloan, Chris Webber, Ben Wallace. I think I already said.
We mentioned Webber. I feel good about that.
Yeah, Wes Unseld, Bernard King. Yeah,
that's a good 70s one. I'm real proud of that Nate Thurmond poll. I was glad I figured that out. that's just a good one. I try to go 70s whenever you can.
Yeah, there you go.
Do you want to scroll down? So the most obvious answers for every so West would have been number 1 for Hall of Fame. I was right about that. All right, so for Nets and Wizards, it was Paul Pierce, who we actually didn't mention at all, but we also got that one pretty quick. So Russell Westbrook for Wizards and Lakers, and Wes Unseld for Wizards Hall of Fame. Bulls and Nets, Andre Drummond. Bulls and Lakers, Dennis Rodman. Bulls Hall of Fame, Scottie Pippen. So wow, big upset there. I think everybody thought Jordan be chalky, and so they went Pippen.
Yeah, I think so.
Nets 10 boards a game would have been DeAndre Jordan. Lakers 10 a game is Shaq. 10 a game Hall of Fame, Hakeem Olajuwon. So
fair enough.
Maybe not many surprises there.
Hardest one to them was Nets Bulls.
Yeah, Nets Bulls being the hardest one. Which Drummond. I mean, I don't know. Drummond is just there. That one's maybe not surprising. Yeah, 57 players. Lakers and Wizards had the most connections other than 10 a game in Hall of Fame. That's obviously a lot of different options there.
Jarrett Allen, by the way, does work.
Okay, cool. I thought he did. Like, I thought he got it right before he got traded. He was right on the fence. So, all right.
10.4, and he was doing it in... Oh, this is just... No, it doesn't show. He only played... Oh, wow. He only played 17 games.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I believe that. He got hurt pretty early in the one.
Yeah. Wow.
All right. So if you want to recap our grid, if you mind just clicking back there for a sec, so our recap with the Wizards and the Nets, we have Chris Humphries for Wizards and Lakers, Spencer Dinwiddie for Wizards Hall of Fame, Michael Jordan, Bulls and Nets, Thaddeus Young, Bulls and Lakers, Carlos Boozer, Bulls Hall of Fame, Tony Kukoc, Nets 10 boards a game per season, Reggie Evans, Lakers 10 a game per season, Andre Drummond, and Hall of Fame 10 boards a game per season, Nate Thurmond. This is a good grid. I'm happy with it. I think last week might have been the best we've ever done just because the rarity was so low. Like we were in the 20s last week. This is a pretty good one. I'm real happy with that. Thank you everybody for listening to this episode of the Drive and Dish NBA podcast. We hope that you are really happy with that. I mean, I don't know. Do you want to listen to the podcast everywhere you can on YouTube? You can watch the podcast there is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, anywhere you get your podcast, you can find us. The reason I sound so disjointed, like, are we gonna send it out with the K-pop song? Or are we gonna okay? So just
we got to do it with the hip hop. We got to do it with the hip hop one.
All right. So let us know what you think about any of these AI songs. If you're particularly fancy to one, like I said, the first hip hop one and the K-pop one are kind of near and dear to my heart now. I'm not going to lie. But I mean, yeah, we haven't had an outro play us off. I mean, I know y'all hear the regular outro too, obviously, but do you want to give a little taste of it, I guess, again, before we get out of here?
Yeah, let's go. Let's play it again.
Welcome to the show, it's the Drive and Dish flow. Justin and Kevin, yeah, y'all already know. Talk about the games, the stories, the fame. Ballin and Fallin, they down.
Yo, happy Pride Month too, by the way.
Tight like Curry, grip the handle. Hot takes flaming up, ain't no candle. Poetry in motion, slashing up the fences. Justin with the insight, Kevin with the senses. Drive the dish, rolling into the night. Break the news, keep it tight, never slight. Ballin and Fallin, the segment is the light. For hoop dreams and court schemes, it's a sight.